Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Shining Sarcophagus deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely nostalgic deck based around the deck that Yugioh used during the ceremonial duel between Yugioh and a Tim, which is so cool that they finally made a deck based around that. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to become part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in every single video, getting a signed card, sending mail, and even getting a request deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Gandora G, the Dragon of Destruction. This card is definitely a 2-of in the build. It's so easy to search in the deck that I feel like 2 is really all you need. But this card is absolutely insane as how powerful this card is as a board wipe. It has the ability it gains 300 attack for each banished card, and you can only use the following effects this card once per turn. And if you control a copy of a Shining Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can also pay half your life points to destroy as many other cards on the field as possible, and if you do, banish them. Then special summon a level 7 or lower monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck and increase its level by the number of the destroyed cards by this effect, which you're usually just going to summon out your copy of Silent Magician 0 to your side of the field, which is actually going to gain 500 attack points based on the amount of levels that it has past its original level, which is going to make it absolutely huge so you can swing in for game. We then play 3 copies of Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio is definitely a 3-of because this card is the best normal summon in the entire build. As if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a Shining Sarcophagus or a Spell or Trap card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability to instantly get to the main combo piece of the deck, Shining Sarcophagus, or use this card to be able to get to Ties That Bind. This card also has the ability, if this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can actually set a copy of Stronghold, the Hidden Fortress, from your deck to your side of the field, which is a really cool effect to instantly get your copy of Stronghold, which is just a really awesome trap monster that you can play alongside all of these really cool nostalgic cards. We then play 2 copies of Silent Magician 0. Silent Magician 0 is definitely a 2-of in the build. This card is really good because it's actually a spell negate, and it has the ability, if your opponent draws a card, increase his card's level by the number of cards drawn. Also has the ability that while this card has a level higher than its original level, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500, which is a pretty cool ability, especially when you combine it with cards like Gandora G, which is going to make it absolutely huge. It also has the ability when your opponent activates a spell card or effect while you control Shining Sarcophagus quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, increase this card's level by 1, giving you basically 500 more attack points while also using this card as a spell negate. We then play a single copy of Silent Swordsman 0. Silent Swordsman 0 is really good as a 1-of in the deck, and I really like this card in the build, but I feel like 1 is really all you need. It has the ability once per turn during the standby phase, increase this card's level by 1. Also, while this card has a level higher than its original level, it gains 500 attack times the difference. Also, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Shining Sarcophagus or a monster that mentions it that you control, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, increase this card's level by 1, which is again a pretty cool effect, but I feel like you just need a single copy of this card. Usually when you summon out your copy of Gadget Trio and you get your copy of Ties That Bind, you can actually use Ties That Bind to summon out a copy of Silent Magician 0 and the copy of Silent Swordsman 0, which is awesome to be able to get all 3 of those monsters out on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of the Ultimate Wizard in terms of attack and defense, and that's going to be 1 copy of the Dark Magician. Dark Magician is really cool to play in this deck as a 1-of, so we can go in for a copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon using Branded Fusion, which is so awesome to be able to summon out Yugi and Joey's ultimate boss monster of friendship, which is just really awesome to be able to play in this deck. We then play a single copy of Fallen of Albaz. We only play the 1 copy of Fallen of Albaz in the build, so we can use Branded Fusion in the deck. I really like playing this card as a 1-of in the build because it's so easy to be able to get to Branded Fusion in this deck. And if you draw into your copy of Branded Fusion, you're just going to go in for a copy of either Mirror Jade or Dragoon, which is really awesome. We then play 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. Shifter is so good in this deck because we really don't worry about the graveyard that much in this deck. So this card is really good, especially when you drop this card, you're probably probably going to instantly win the game depending on the matchup. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good as a 3-of in the build, basically just to stop the opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a 1-of in the build just to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We're then playing 2 copies of Ties That Bind. I really like playing this card as a 2-of in the build because it's really good to help you special summon out other monsters to your field, as if you control a copy of a Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, you can special summon up to 2 level 4 or lower monsters with different names that mention Shining Sarcophagus from your hand and or deck, which is a really cool ability to use this card with Gadget Trio to summon out your copy of Silent Magician 0 and Silent Swordsman 0. Also, for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extract, which is a little bit of a downside, so you always want to activate your copy of Branded Fusion first before you use this card. But this card is really good in the deck as a 2-of, because it helps you summon out 2 monsters to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Turn Silence. Turn Silence is really good as a 2-of in the build and has the ability you can target a face-up monster you control and increase its level by 3. Also, if you activate this card in response to your opponent's monster effects activation while you control Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, negate that opponent's effect, which is a really cool ability to basically just use this card as a negate, and it's just amazing to be able to use this card as a response to one of your opponent's monster effects. Also, during damage calculation, if your monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus battles, you can manage this card from the graveyard and in the battle phase, which is absolutely crazy. We then play 3 copies of Future Silence. Future Silence is basically like the Rhoda for the deck. I really like this card as a 3-of in the build, because it lets you add a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. Then, if you activate this card during the battle phase, while you controlled Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand, which is really insane to be able to use your copy of Silent Magician 0 on your side of the field to give it a big boost to help you go in for game. But you usually don't want your opponent to draw that many cards, so you want to use this card when your opponent has like 5 cards in their hand so they only draw 1, but we've used a bunch of our resources to dig into the deck for more cards. We then play 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus. This card is what the entire deck is based around, and it's so important to play this card as a 3-of in the build. It cannot be destroyed by monster effects, meaning it cannot be destroyed by Gandor G's ability, but it also has the ability during the main phase, you can add 1 card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, basically searching the entire deck, which is absolutely crazy. And if your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard, you can discard a spell and then target one of those monsters and send it to the grave, which is absolutely crazy. We then play 3 copies of Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is really good as a starter in the deck to help you get your copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon or a copy of Mirror Jade on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is really good in this build because we really don't care about the extract all that much outside of our branded cards. So we're just using this card in the build to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need, like Gadget Trio, or a copy of Shining Sarcophagus, or even Future Silence, which is also basically just full combo. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is really good at breaking your opponent's board, and again, since we don't worry that much about the extract, we have a lot of room for Super Poly targets, making this card a definite 3-of in the build. We then also play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet is really good as a 3-of in the build because this deck really wants to break your opponent's board, and so this card is absolutely amazing at doing that, to be able to just deal with your opponent's field, and it's a really awesome card this format. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 1, and that's going to be 1 copy of Stronghold, the Hidden Fortress. I play this card as a 1-of in the build to be able to place on your side of the field off your copy of Gadget Trio, but this card is actually a trap monster. It has the ability to let you special summon this card as an effect monster that's a machine, earth, Level 4, 0 attack, 2000 defense, with the following effects, and this card is still treated as a trap, that it gains 1,000 attack for each Shining Sarcophagus and monsters that mentions it that you control, which is usually a lot, so this card can get absolutely huge. And also, once per turn, when your opponent's monster declares an attack while you control Shining Sarcophagus, you can destroy that monster, which is a pretty cool ability to use with this card. I love this card as a one-of in the deck. It's just really cool to be able to play. It's a little bit of a brick if you open it, but it still summons itself as a monster, which is really nice. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with a single copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is one of our main boss monsters we summon out of the extra deck because it is a walking negate. Plus, I wanted to find a way to play Dark Magician in the deck until we get the Shining Sarcophagus version of Dark Magician. And what better way than to be able to summon out Red Eye's Dark Dragoon with Branded Fusion. We then play a single copy of Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade's really good as a one-of in the build, and it's just an alternative boss monster we can summon instead of our copy of Dragoon, as just another option to be able to spot remove cards off the field. We then play a single copy of Lubellion. Lubellion lets us shuffle our materials back to be able to summon out a fusion monster, and it's a really good stepping stone to help us summon out our copy of Dragoon. We then play 2 copies of Albion, 1 to summon and 1 to send to the graveyard off our copy of Mirror Jade. It's really good because this card is basically a miracle fusion for your branded plays. We then play a single copy of Mud Dragon, a single copy of Garua, and a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. These are all really good super poly targets to be able to summon out to your side of the field, alongside our copy of Dracos Stapelia, which is also a pretty good super poly target. I feel like these are the best ones to be able to play, and this card is just an option if you're playing up against a fusion deck. And then play a single copy of Baguska. Baguska is really good just in case we need to slow down the game, and it's just a really good option overall. Probably one of the best rank 4s ever created. We then play a single copy of AA Zeus as a good board wipe in the deck, and a single copy of Typhon because it's so easy to summon in this deck. It's a really good one-of in the build just to be able to summon, because you can basically summon this card at any time to your side of the field, which is absolutely insane. I love that about this card, and it's just a really good one-of to be able to summon out. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code comes out absolutely massive, and it's pretty easy to summon, especially since we play spellcasters in the deck. So we can use our copy of Selene to be able to step into this card, and then finally play a single copy of the Light Charmer, because if your opponent's playing like an Effect Veiler in their graveyard, you can make this card, and then take the Effect Veiler, step into Selene, then use Selene to bring back like Silent Magician 0, and then step into your copy of Access Code, which gives you basically an OTK. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Shining Sarcophagus before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's based on Yugi's deck during the ceremonial duel, which is so cool. And it's just going to keep getting support because there's so many cool nostalgic cards that they can actually include in this deck. So that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.